I think we can all agree that Luigi is very much worthy of being celebrated, which is why when he got a whole year dedicated to him, it was met with universal love. Universal. And as we know, nothing is more valuable than Luigi memorabilia. So when the Year of Luigi did come around, Nintendo had the good sense to commission a fair bit of it. Now, a decade later, in the Year of Luigi, we've got nothing to commemorate it. Yet, we've got until March. I'm sure they will eventually. So, while we wait, I'll be taking you on a stroll through every piece of merch made explicitly for that first Luigi-based celebration. Luigi's strongest soldier back in 2013 was absolutely the Club Nintendo site, a reward center that would gift you Nintendo collectibles for buying games and doing surveys. The most iconic of which being this large statue of Luigi and friends that any good Luigi historian will tell you 3 years later was updated to finally be perfect. This absolute stunner of a display piece had the unique honor of being announced by Mr. Iwata himself in the last Nintendo Direct of 2013. For a whopping 1,500 coins, it was available to any Club Nintendo Platinum member. Well, I say any. It was produced in a limited quantity, only 5,000 were made per region. But if you were lucky enough to get one, well, let's just say you wouldn't be disappointed. Arriving in this beautiful box, you would see the logo we all know too well, adorning the front to let you know that you were in for something special. The shades of light and dark green they choose are really eye-catching and contrast against each other really well, and the various Mario enemies that appear on it are just, a really fun detail. But the box is only the proverbial garnish on this equally proverbial bowl of spaghetti. The figure itself is amazing. I love the choice to make the base the gloomy manner instead of the normal black base that they go for. I also love how all the gems from the game are sculpted into the bottom. That's a small detail they really didn't have to do, but it really lends to the feeling of it being premium. In fact, it reminds me of the Joyride Luigi figure, especially with the ghost included. Said ghost being especially special because it is the only merch ever made of Dark Moon's most iconic enemy, the Greenie. I'll admit it does look a little strange without the white highlights of the game Greenies, though that is a nitpick. One element that the Joyride Luigi didn't have was this adorable pooch. Holterpup is here, making up for his tragically low amount of merchandise. I love how he's sort of excitedly lifting up the carpet to find a gold coin. It just conveys his personality perfectly. Now, circling back around to the stand, the painting and sculpting work here is immaculate, really perfectly capturing the game's location, and if you flip it back around, you can see embossed on the back is the logo we all love. Man, they really went above and beyond with this one, and I think what winds up tying it together and making it so great is how, I guess ironically enough, it feels so alive. Everything is molded to be at a slight angle or in the midst of some movement, which really makes it feel like just a slice of the game plopped down in front of you. But my absolute favourite detail is when it shipped. Oddly enough, in late March of 2014, just as the year was about to end, as Luigi fans across the globe were surely in tears, when this came to them, they would have been reminded to not focus on that, but instead the joy that this year brought to all. Which is why I feel like this figure remains the most iconic of all the products I'll talk about today. And amazingly enough, this wasn't even a one-time thing. When Club Nintendo was shutting down in 2015, through the Stars catalogue, fans got another chance to get it through a reprint, this time in a batch of 2088. Okay, oddly specific. It does get me thinking though, in the original production batch from 2013, how much do you think number 2401 goes for? But would you believe this piece of plastic perfection wasn't the only thing that Club Nintendo offered? Another iconic one was the Year of Luigi Sound Selection CD, compiling a collection of definitively Luigi tracks onto one pretty snazzy looking disc. It contained songs from Luigi's Mansion and its sequel, as well as Mario Sports Mix, Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart DS, Mario Strikers Charge, Mario Super Sluggers, Mario Power Tennis, Super Paper Mario, and Mario Luigi Dream Team. Wow, what an eclectic bunch. Sadly, in its August 2013 release, it was exclusive to Club Nintendo Japan. You could get it for 400 points, but if you were cultured enough to have bought one of the Year of Luigi games beforehand, you could get it for half of that. I think for the year it's made, it's a very good selection of songs. The tracks flow from one to the next very nicely. Though I feel like Breather from Dark Moon being the last one feels a little disappointing. But that's minor. What's really the most disappointing element of this disc is the fact that it doesn't include the unreleased Luigi's Mansion remix from Brawl. Okay, that's not the most fair complaint to make. But come on, the render is right there. How am I meant to think about anything else? You know, while we're on the topic of the cover, I really like the idea of what they went with here. The idea of showing a coterie of different Luigi designs from throughout the years to show how much he has evolved throughout his story history. However, the execution though, well, that's a little bit interesting. I mean, come on, why is Arcade Luigi in a bubble? And within that bubble, why does he still have the pipe from the original art he's been removed from? Because they removed the rest of the background, and if they couldn't remove the pipe because he's like touching it and everything, they should have just kept the background because he's the only one in the bubble, and it just looks weird if he's like separated from all the rest through this bubble, but within the bubble there's no distinction apart from the pipe, but no one else has like an element of like background to them, and it just leaves a little to be desired, let's say. But despite this, the design, would you believe it, would strike again, this time in an expanded form on the Year of Luigi 3DS case. Now, with Holiday Luigi. Fun. Sadly, this was once again a Japan exclusive. For those in Japan lucky enough to get this, it wasn't just a 3DS case, I should mention. It was actually a 2-in-1, as if you looked inside the case, you would find the same design as on the CD, which is great. It nicely contrasts the very simplistic Luigi stamp on the front. That's a nice little bonus, slash the main selling point. I don't know. It's kind of a weird idea, because those are two very dissonant products, but honestly, it is very fun. And for 300 coins, I think both of them do make it very worth it. Though, now, yeah, maybe less so. Although if you wanted a real steal for a third of that, you could get a beautiful Luigi notepad and pen. The notepad has this beautiful art in the style of Shigesa Nakue. It's an outline of a pretty commonly used piece, and next to it is the logo we have all grown to love. On the back we can see one of the Year of Luigi backgrounds that's pretty frequently used across these products, and the improved version of the Club Nintendo logo. If you crack it open, we have some more Nakue art. Really like this. There's a dopey look on Luigi in the circles here, and across the pages we have these two different sprite Luigis. And while yes, a hidden Luigi is the greatest pleasure any person can know, sadly, no matter how fast you flip the pages, they do not look like they're moving, which is really the only issue with this lovely, lovely piece. The pen included is equally sublime. On the side you can see every frame of Luigi's original running animation, which is great. It means if you throw it at someone hard enough, they can see the little guy go. And right next to it in text is the only time in my life I was ever happy. But let's say you missed out on this one. The Luigi pen was simply too cool for anyone to pass up, so sadly it went out of stock fast. That would obviously break someone. So to try cheer yourself up, you go to the store. You buy a copy of Nintendo Select's Mario Super Sluggers, trying to lift your spirits, to no avail. So as you get home, you log on to Club Nintendo to wistfully mourn what could have been yours. And good old CN Japan still had your back. With your extra 20 coins, you could now get this Retro Luigi washcloth, perfect for wiping away the tears. On it we have the aforementioned Retro Luigi in 5 of the key poses from the original Super Mario Bros., as well as a coin. It all comes together in a very simple, pleasing way, very classy. And would you believe it, that wasn't the only one. Because yes, great things truly do come in pairs, and these were great. This one uses some art from the HUD of 3D World, so we are once again visited by our good friend Nakue, though this time in a fun sort of sketched out style, which is great. making September 9th truly a day to live in the history books. But surely, if you wanted a Luigi purchase to really make you feel cash money, nothing could compete with the Club Nintendo Luigi coin. Right? Coming in a classy drawstring bag, the coin is the lovely metallic gold you'd expect, on the one side having the beautiful crest we've talked about so many times today, and then on the other it has it would appear they have used the wrong logo. But swiftly moving on, it was available for 1,500 coins in Europe and 1,250 coins in Australia. It was listed on the former on my birthday of all dates. How very considerate of you, Luigi. Here, have some spaghetti. But as amazing as Club Nintendo was, it wasn't everything. I know, I'm just as surprised as you are. As in San Diego Comic-Con of 2013, a far superior version of the coin was given out, keeping the crest on one side, though now with a splash of colour, to reinforce that this is Luigi, not his smelly, stupid, stinky brother. Sorry about that. And on the other side, it had this happy chappy, once again, Nakuea, who, if you look closely, has the right letter on his hat. So it's truly super. Though if you really wanted to show off to everyone at the event, you also could have got a Luigi pin while you were there. Its design is a very simple one, which has Luigi waving, which is great, as if you then place this pin on yourself. As you walked around the convention hall, you could be giving everyone a lovely greeting from the Weegmeister himself. The exact same pin was also later made available on the Club Nintendo site, though not in a conventional way. If you did a survey after buying New Super Luigi U, you would be entered into a raffle to win one of 980 of these bad boys, making it one of very few instances where it can be said as a 100% certainty that it was worth it to start gambling. This is probably a good time to mention that I believe this wasn't the only Year of Luigi pin. I believe this pin, showing a very nice design of a Luigi silhouette with his logo, was also made for the Year of Luigi and apparently was given on Club Nintendo. However, I've been unable to find any articles that corroborate this. Either way, it's a very nice design. Now, something that made the pins special is they were a piece of Year of Luigi merch that were meant to be donned in public, and thus exposing strangers to the glory of the Year of Luigi. However, there is the issue of, while yes, anyone passing you would be able to tell you're a big fan of the Green Thunder, going off them, they wouldn't be able to tell that there was a celebration going on, which is tragic. An issue solved by the 2 Year of Luigi shirts that were given away at conventions that year, including San Diego Comic-Con. The first one, which is also my preferred one for that matter, has once again Luigi's running sprite from the original Super Mario Bros. We are seeing that a lot today, though it is in the Super Luigi form this time. He's in this lovely little pixelated bubble, which does have a background, something I'm pointing out for no particular reason. And if you flip it to the back, we've got a 30-up sign, reminiscent of the original 1-up sign you'd get when collecting one of them in the original Super Mario Bros., which is very cute, and right above it is the Nintendo logo. I like this Luigi shirt in particular because it's very distinct from most of the ones that are out there not related to the Year of Luigi. The other one is the opposite, however, though it does manage to redeem itself, as, well, yes, it's a dime a dozen design of the Luigi logo on a green shirt, which, I mean, yeah, it's very common to this day. But if you turn to the back, on the top left corner, you can see the Year of Luigi crest, which all of a sudden makes it better than every other shirt like it. The only issue here is that crest should be right at the front. Oh, and just as a small aside before we leave Comic-Con, during my research I was reading an article breaking down the whole event, and it mentioned, you know, the pins, the coins, and a pillowcase. This was near the end of my writing for this video, and I just sort of started freaking out way more than I should have been. Because, I mean, did I miss something? Could I even call myself a Luigi historian anymore? But no. Shortly after, I found it, and it wasn't actually branded for the year, but instead it was Dream Team themed. It's very fitting, and I am very jealous of anyone who has it. Though, more than anything else, I'm just very glad I didn't insult Luigi's honor by forgetting anything. But now, we must wake from that detour and get back to the topic at hand. Going into this, you were all aware that there were Luigi figurines and shirts out there, but were you aware of the Luigi Mook? You may now be quite fairly asking, what is a Mook? Well, a MOOC is a type of Japanese publication. It's essentially a slightly more substantial magazine, intended to stay on shelves for longer than a magazine normally would. So the midpoint between a magazine and a book, hence the name. Inside is an in-depth look at Luigi's history, a suitably stylish look at Luigi-based fashion, and a modest spread of various pieces of Luigi merch from throughout that era. And that's not even taking into account this suitably dapper Luigi papercraft hat, if I am to be so bold as to say that. And let's not forget the suitably scrumptious snacks, clearly cooked commemorating, Charlie? But can you believe it is possible for something to be even more than all of that? Because if so, well, you got me beat. But as all Luigi MOOCs do, this completely shatters my perception of reality, because it does somehow manage to be more than that. Included with it was this very distinguished box, and inside was an equally distinguished Luigi tote bag. On the bottom right of the tote, we have what we were all hoping for, the thinking man's crucifix, surrounded by just an ocean of Luigi sprites from, well, the game they're all from, contrasting very nicely against the black fabric of the bulk of the tote. The straps are a lovely Luigi green to, like how the sprites do, contrast with the bulk of the bag, which winds up looking very nice. And attached to that is this nice little plastic charm of a Starman, which, being yellow and white, also adds to the sort of contrast between the black and yellows, whites and greens, which is sort of a very consistent color palette that's balanced perfectly, and it really makes this tote solid. I would say more on this, but I have serious trauma related to this product, so we are moving on to a different product. Also, funnily enough, a region-specific one. A casquette is a type of French hat traditionally made out of cotton. This one, however, very much isn't. The Luigi casquette really barely counts as one of these, but I figured I should mention it anyways. Starting in October of 2013, it was given away as a free gift for Paris Games Week. It was a very simple card hat. It did its job perfectly fine, and you know, when your job is to make it look like Luigi's looking down on anyone you walk past, it's a pretty good job to have. Now, what I'm about to show isn't perfect, but I made a sort of miniature DIY replica, and I think this shows that it is suitably stylish, as I'm sure you would agree. And while that's great and all, wearing a hat can be a lot of pressure. I mean, sure, the hat on its own might look great, but do you really have the confidence to pull it off? If not, let's go back to Club Nintendo, as this 3DS pouch they had for 450 points has got you covered. It takes the form of the right version of the Club Nintendo logo, which is very cute. Inside, there's not too much room for many 3DS cartridges due to the size. However, you can fit the only ones that matter, so it's all good. Now, of course, to play these games, you would need a 3DS, and for the Year of Luigi, a regular one simply wouldn't cut it. So it was great that not only did Luigi have your back, he gave you options. There were two 3DSs made specifically for the Year of Luigi with completely unique designs. The first of which, once again, is the less interesting, but you know, it's still solid. Well, I'd say that. It does have one incredibly small, tiny, minuscule, short issue. Yeah, it's him. Again. I mean, Mario, seriously. Come on, I loved your work in Chowder, but you've had 31 whole years dedicated to you beforehand. This is Luigi's first. You couldn't at the very least give him this one. Like, if you have to be that, fine, but there's no way you should be having like equal billing to him. But moving on, this 3DS is in fact larger. It is a 3DS XL, and it is this lovely silver with Mario and Luigi being silhouetted in gold. It creates a very sort of classy look. Though what looks classier is the gold Year of Luigi stamp on the back. Love it. You know, this one is very nice, but it's very sort of streamlined and symbol. It was exclusively released in North America, and while, you know, obviously it's the second best 3DS design ever, if I was living in North America, I would be pretty disappointed that I would be getting this over the actual best 3DS. And while the other one was more general Mario franchise themed, this one was actually Dream Team themed, which was great, as that was the game included with both. This one was a stark white with a bunch of different shades of little Luigi silhouettes dotted around in the art style of the Mario and Luigi games. It's great, and it calls back to the Luigi noise from that game. It all looks very nice, and more importantly than all of that, it does us the basic decency of hiding its Mario. Now, just across from said Mario, we can see the Year of Luigi symbol again, but this time in a color we've never seen it before, this nice sort of minty green, which is lovely. This one was released in Japan and Europe, and I do not think a single Nintendo console will ever top it. Given everything you've seen so far, I'm sure you would agree that any of the people who were to any degree responsible for all of this Luigi goodness would deserve some sort of a reward. And luckily enough, some of them received one. There was an employee reward provided by the fine people at Nintendo Germany. If you were going to be signing your divorce papers with this, everyone would know you were part of Luigi history, which is very thoughtful, as I'm sure this is the one point in time anyone who worked on the Year of Luigi would want to remember about their career, so having some sort of physical representation of it is great, I'm sure. The design is very chunky and square in a way that just sort of screams look at me, which is a weird thing for a pen to scream at you. Complemented by the raised sort of cutout of the Year of Luigi crest, it's amazing. Sensational even. Almost as sensational as the idea of having a poster signed by Luigi himself. Something he could do with this pen, which I'm sure he also had. And if you were a Platinum member of Club Nintendo in the December of the Year of Luigi, you could complete that transaction. As one of the Platinum member rewards then was a Year of Luigi poster. Well, it was a set of 3 posters, but you know, we all know the one anyone actually cares about. It was a version of Luigi's original sprite, again, but this time it was in the sort of basic standing pose, and instead of being the original colours, it was Luigi's modern colours, akin to what was in the second version of the Year of Luigi coin. Behind it was a checkerboard pattern similar to all the other ones, made up of different sort of Mario-themed elements, but instead of Luigi faces or enemies, this time it was some of the same sprites from the Luigi washcloth I mentioned earlier. I do find it interesting how they changed this up for almost every Year of Luigi product, but outside of that, it just sort of does what it says on the tin. It's a Luigi poster. So, hey, it's the best Luigi poster I've ever seen. At the beginning of this journey that we took together, I said that the Year of Luigi figurine I opened this video with was the most iconic Year of Luigi product, and I stand by that. But I feel our penultimate product that I'll be taking you through now is the most iconic one of these products from the Year of Luigi, if that makes sense. This is the Luigi Nendoroid. You have very likely seen it before. Nendoroids are a very popular series of figurines made for video game series that are designed to have a sort of chibi art style and come with a lot of accessories and sort of swappable elements to make them highly posable. They do various characters such as this one, him. Oh, and Dedede, I know him. We just need Ness and we've got the full set. The chibi art style isn't particularly my thing, but Luigi translates to it as much as he really ever could. And honestly, it looks really nice. The sort of painting and sculpting is very crisp, and he definitely is not lacking in accessories. Now, he obviously comes with a display base, as you would expect, but in addition to this, he's got these clear lift arms, which are really nice to allow him to be posed in various poses where he's not attached to the ground, which, you know, makes perfect sense for a guy whose main ability is jumping. And to help that posing look more dynamic, you've got various different body parts, like arms, hands, legs, and my favorite, faces, with various different sort of dynamic looks that can be mixed and matched to make whatever your dream Luigi look is come to be a reality. And it doesn't even stop there. You've got a warp pipe, which is great for posing. You can actually put him inside it and everything. To go against him, you've got a bullet bill with its own clear stand, which is great. Like Luigi's, it's articulated And if this absolute chalupa seems to be a bit too much of a threat for the Ouija machine, you can call in Luigi's iconic sidekick, Graggle the Goomba, who is graciously included, which is honestly amazing as he hasn't really shown up in any game since Super Mario Galaxy 3. Not to forget the 3 dust clouds they include to make any sort of running pose look way more natural. And more importantly than any other accessory ever could be, his winning smile. While this was branded with the seal, sadly it was only a temporary deal. You see, quite tragically, really, while the Nendoroid kept in production long after the Year of Luigi had ended, unlike when the statue was revived, it seemed to grow ashamed of its Luigi legacy, and it scrubbed all mentions of the reason it was produced to begin with in those later prints. And honestly, it's so heartbreaking to me to think of something, anything, being possibly ashamed of the Year of Luigi. But because of the Year of Luigi, this figure was produced before Nendoroid had done any other Mario characters, including Mario himself. So this figure does stand as a legacy of that glorious year where Luigi did, in this one instance, get to go first, and that is worth something. Now, I'm sure you're thinking at this point, what could possibly end this video? I mean, it would have to be something special, and trust me, it is, because it's not any Luigi-based product. I think calling it a product is quite frankly degrading. This art piece arrived in a sleek, minimalist packaging with a lovely gold shine. It was a one-of-a-kind piece of memorabilia for a piece of art that had never and will never receive a physical release itself. So this item is the only living testament to this artwork ever having existed. It absolutely would have the right Club Nintendo logo on it. So here it is, released exclusively in Japan, the birthplace of Luigi, as some may call it. The quintessential, the definitive representation of all the amazing joy, love, loss, lots and lots of loss, but it was for a good reason, that encompassed what the Year of Luigi was. A year where the sort of person who had been forgotten, neglected, and just sort of mocked and shunted by the whole world, their whole lives, the year where that sort of person could be shown the same amount of love that everyone else gets. Because everyone on Earth is the mascot of Nintendo, I guess. The one thing that could represent and embody that all on the most fundamental level is the Dr. Luigi glasses wipe.
I look just like Buddy Holly.